Hi Precalc. So today we're talking about combining functions, and specifically these notes are going to be on composition of functions. If you're given two functions like f and g here, and you see f and then that little circle and g, this little circle here means compose. And what that really means to do is to plug g into f. So this is f of g of x. Okay? Make sure you have your x in there when you're doing problems like this. Now, g of x is equal to the square root of 2 minus x. From above, we've got it defined. So instead of g of x, I'm going to substitute in. And then f tells me that whatever's in the parentheses, I'm going to square root it. So here, I'm going to have the square root of the square root of 2 minus x. Now, we can simplify this. Recall that square roots are the same things as half powers. So this is the same thing as 2 minus x to the half power. And then since it's all square rooted, it's raised to the half power again. And also recall that a power of a power, we multiply the exponents. So this is 2 minus x to the 1/4. And that's the same as the 4th root of 2 minus x if we use the cowboy and the horse. Remember, the cowboy rides on top, it goes inside the house. The horse is on bottom, it stays outside the house. So like this in the back of your textbook, you would see the 4th root of 2 minus x as your final answer for f of g of x. Okay. Your textbook is also going to ask you to find the domain. So remember that with even roots, and actually this goes for all along the process here, anytime we have an even root, it must be greater than 0. So we have to even root positive numbers. So to find your domain for this problem, you would say 2 minus x is greater than or equal to 0. That means that negative x is greater than or equal to negative 2. And now when I divide or multiply by a negative 1, I have to remember to flip the inequality. So x is less than or equal to 2 would be my domain. And I'd prefer you guys to write your domains in interval notation. So you would write your domain is all the numbers less than or equal to 2, so that would be from negative infinity to 2 with a bracket, because we get to include 2, since you can in fact take the square root of 0. For g of f of x, this is g of f of x. Well, let's see, f of x is the square root of x, and g says to take the square root of 2 minus whatever's in the parentheses. So in this case, we have the square root of 2 minus root x. Now, we have a red flag of death sitting here. We can't just square root each one, and there's actually no simplification we can do here. So our final answer for g of f of x is the square root of 2 minus root x. So there's our composition of functions. Now, if I want to find the domain of this, I'm going to look underneath the larger square root. And 2 minus root x must be bigger than or equal to 0. So that means that negative root x must be bigger than or equal to negative 2. Root x must be less than or equal to 2, because when I divide by a negative 1, I need to flip the inequality. And then when I square both sides, I get x is less than or equal to 4. Now, since this problem is so strange, I'm just going to double check and make sure that the domain I'm getting makes sense with the problem. I'm going to do that using my graphing calculator. So on my calculator, I'm going to plug in to my y equals the square root of 2 minus the square root of x. And I'm going to make sure that I've got my parentheses, if your calculator puts parentheses, or if it's like making your square root bar for you, making it longer, make sure that that's correct. And now I'm going to hit zoom 6 to take it to a standard window. And it looks like here that I'm getting things that are less than 4 as part of my final answer. So I'm going to go to my table and see what happens. I'm getting errors all through here. Oh, these are all the numbers bigger than 4. Oh, there we go. So that does make sense. So I got my domain as less than or equal to 4, and sure enough, anything over 4 is creating an error. So that makes sense. And I guess maybe if I were to fix my window a little bit better. So let's see, my numbers here. Oh, and I've got some more errors. That's interesting. I'm getting also errors at negative 1. Oh, I see what's going on. So when I see this error at negative 1, I want to think, like, why is that happening? And if you look back in the problem, We also have this root x right here that can't blow up because of a negative inside it. So we also have the square root of x, or sorry, just x, must be greater than or equal to 0. So we have two restrictions in our domain here. So the domain of this problem is all numbers bigger than 0 and less than 4. So you would say from 0 to 4. For practice problems tonight, I would like you to find f of f and g of g. Go ahead and do these on the notes. Don't do them in your homework. And we will combine or check answers tomorrow in class. Thanks, guys. Good night.